I mean, when Steve said a couple hours ago that what it looks like is something shocking, it really is a shocking turnaround. And I wonder, I mean, we've had conversations before about how Democrats prioritize and make this choice. It seems like this year more than, and people keep talking about electability in an abstract term. I think tonight electability is around who voters intuit Donald Trump is most afraid of. And if you look at the last year of Donald Trump's presidency, he got himself impeached trying to take out Joe Biden.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about trying to take out Joe Biden, you have to think about Joe Biden as being like Coca-Cola, right? So if I have Coca-Cola and you make a soda, I still have Coca-Cola. It's very difficult to change that brand. Biden has a known brand, particularly to the voters who really handed it to him tonight, which is black voters. They know who he is. He's Barack Obama's VP. And I now, as I'm thinking about just talking to a lot of black voters, particularly in southern states over the last, and in Indiana and places that I've just been running around for the last couple of months, Biden is who they wanted originally. Biden was what they were going to go with. Then he got shaky.
He faltered. He
started to seem maybe it won't work. And then I started hearing repeatedly, we're going to have to go to Bloomberg. I mean, black voters, and I've said this before, are, they are very clinical about it. They just want to win. They want Trump gone. That's what they want. And Biden was who they wanted because he's a loyal second to Barack Obama. Full stop. But then when he looked shaky, they're like, we'll go to Bloomberg. Then Warren iced him. I mean, she ethered him. She finished him. It was kind of a murder-suicide because it didn't help her.
It did not.
But it ended him. And then when that happened, they went, okay. So now I just was down in South Carolina in Selma, and there was a scene inside of Brown Chapel AME that told me Biden's going to sweep the South. I mean, I knew he'd probably win the southern states, but after that night, I was like, oh, he's going to not just win, he's going to sweep. Biden is inside Brown Chapel AME, which is this revered church. You don't get on the pulpit. You don't get on the dais in a church like that.
Slow down. Tell the story with as much detail as possible. I've never heard a more fascinating story.
So Brown Chapel is where the march that went across the Edmund Pettus Bridge started. It's where they organized. You know, in the civil rights era, black voters organized in churches. That's why churches got firebombed, right? That's why the 16th Street Baptist Church got firebombed. It's why when Goodman, Schwerner, and Cheney were killed, they were organizing voters in a church that they were trying to then investigate the firebombing of it. That's why they were there, right? So churches are where black voters always organize. Brown Chapel AME is revered in that sense. So Brown Chapel AME is where they do this ceremony to start off the commemoration of the march over the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It starts with a service in there. We're in that church. Now, the way that black churches work, you have to be invited to sit on the dais. Family sits on the dais. The pastor sits on the dais. Pastor's family, people the pastor says can be up there. Biden was up there. Bloomberg was sitting in the audience. He's stuck in the audience, having to sit there and watch person after person stand up on that church. I mean, Reverend Sharpton was on the dais. That makes sense. Terry Sewell, who's the Alabama congresswoman, that's her home church. She gets up and says, basically, this is Biden country. This is Biden's home. Biden gets to speak from the pulpit. Bloomberg does too, but he's in the audience. He's stuck there having to grimace and watch everyone laud this other person, laud this other candidate. He couldn't even leave because he would have had to cross across the pulpit and leave. It would have been completely disrespectful. So he's sitting there just grimacing. I'm mostly watching his face as he's just miserable. And when he finally gets up to speak, after really being laid into by the pastor for his policies against black people, stop and frisk, things like that, people turn their back on him in the church. That doesn't happen in churches. These are formal. AME is a formal kind of church. When Biden gets up, nothing but love. He gets up and speaks. He turns to Reverend Sharp and he says, you remember this and that, Rev? Pastor, you know we go back. He's got relationships. Bloomberg just had money. And when we got out onto the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Bloomberg was booed. He was heckled. People were chanting, stop and frisk. People weren't exactly eager to march next to him. This revered moment when Biden had left, he wasn't even marching. People who were already out, Pete Buttigieg marched, Amy Klobuchar marched, Elizabeth Warren marched, all these other people, but it was still Biden's home. And that means, that told me, oh, Biden's going to win the whole South.
And indeed, he not only has won it, he's won it resoundingly.
Yeah, black voters said, you know what, that's nice, you want a revolution? The answer, no.
There's the scene Joy Reid's been talking about. And it reminds me of a phrase that came from law enforcement, allowing people out of jail early credit for time served. They award credit
Yes.
for time served. And that scene of some of the congregants turning their backs when Bloomberg spoke was beamed around the world.
Remarkable.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.